Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UN's horizon, watching the strange moon grow larger on the main screen. The rocky surface looked normal at first, but something was different. His science officer, Dr. Lisa Harper, had detected unusual energy readings from the dark side of the moon. "Captain, you need to see this," Lisa called from her station. Her voice carried excitement mixed with worry. She had been studying alien ruins for 10 years, but had never found anything like this. Jake walked over to her console. The scanner showed a massive structure buried beneath the moon's surface. It was huge, maybe 5 miles wide and perfectly round. The energy it gave off was unlike anything in their databases. "How old do you think it is?" Jake asked. Lisa shook her head. "The readings suggest it's been here for millions of years, maybe longer. And Captain, it's not natural. Someone built this thing." Dr. Sam Carter, the ship's language expert, looked up from his own screen. "I'm picking up some kind of transmission from the structure. It's very weak, but it's definitely artificial. There are patterns in the signal." Jake made his decision. "Quickly, prepare a landing team. I want to know what's down there." 2 hours later, Jake led a small group to the moon's surface. Lisa and Sam came with him, along with 3 security officers. Their ship landed near a crater that seemed to sit right above the buried structure. The moment they stepped out of their shuttle, Lisa's equipment went crazy. "The energy readings are off the charts," she said through her helmet radio. "There's definitely something big under our feet." They walked for 20 minutes before they found it. A section of the crater wall had collapsed long ago, revealing part of a crystalline structure underneath. The crystal was dark blue and seemed to glow with its own inner light. "My God," Sam whispered, "look at the size of it." The exposed section was just a tiny part of the whole structure. The crystal surface was smooth and covered with strange marks that looked like writing. The symbols were carved deep into the material and filled with a soft golden light. Lisa ran her scanner over the symbols. "These aren't random scratches. This is definitely some kind of language, maybe several languages." Sam knelt down and studied the markings more closely. "You're right. I can see at least 3 different writing systems here. The patterns are completely different from each other." They spent 4 hours taking pictures and recordings of everything they could see. The structure seemed to go on forever beneath the surface. Every section they uncovered showed more of the glowing symbols back on the ship. Lisa and Sam worked through the night, trying to understand what they had found. The computer systems couldn't match the languages to anything in human records. These symbols came from races that humans had never met. "I've found something," Sam announced the next morning. His eyes were red from lack of sleep, but he was excited. The computer managed to translate a few words from one of the languages. It keeps using the word warning over and over again. Lisa looked at his screen. "Warning about what?" "I'm not sure yet, but there's another word that appears frequently. The computer translates it as water world or ocean planet." Jake joined them at the computer terminal. Could they be talking about Earth? Sam nodded slowly. "It's possible. The symbols describe a planet that's mostly water, with continents scattered across the surface." "That sounds like Earth to me." Over the next 3 days, they made more progress with the translations. The ancient writing told a story that made them all uncomfortable. Different alien races had left warnings about a species from a water world, a species that would one day travel to the stars and change everything. The warnings were clear. This species would be dangerous, not because they were strong or had better weapons, but because they never gave up. The ancient texts called them the ones who refused to yield and the destroyers of the impossible. "They're talking about humans," Lisa said quietly. "These aliens knew about us millions of years ago." Jake read the translations again. The Prophecies described humans perfectly. They talked about a species that would turn their enemies into friends and find ways to win battles they should lose. They warned that these beings would spread across the galaxy and change how everyone thought about war and peace. Send a message back to Earth, Jake ordered. Command needs to know about this immediately. As the message traveled through space toward Earth, none of them realized that the ancient structure was doing more than just sharing old warnings. Deep beneath the moon's surface, systems that had been waiting for millions of years were waking. The prophecy had finally found the species it was meant for. Now it was time to tell the galaxy that the humans had arrived. The message from Captain Morrison's ship reached Earth in less than a week. Commander Alex Stone read the report 3 times before he could believe what he was seeing. Ancient aliens had known about humans long before humanity had even learned. To make fire, Alex called an emergency meeting of the Global Defense Council. Leaders from every nation gathered in the secure conference room beneath New Geneva. The room fell silent as Alex shared the translated prophecies. They knew we would travel to the stars, Alex said, his voice steady but worried. These warnings were left by different alien races, all describing the same thing, us. General Linda Brooks from the American forces leaned forward. What exactly do these prophecies say about humans? Alex pulled up the translations on the main screen. They call us dangerous, but not in the way you might think. According to these texts, we're dangerous because we don't know when to quit. They say we turn impossible situations into victories through pure stubbornness. Dr. Peter Walsh from the European Science Council studied the ancient text. This line here is interesting. It talks about humans making allies out of their enemies. That's very specific. There's more, Alex continued. They describe us as having twin-star creativity and destruction. They seem to think we can build and destroy with equal skill. While Earth's leaders tried to understand the prophecies, something else was happening. The ancient structure on the distant moon had been broadcasting a signal since the humans found it. The signal traveled faster than any human technology could manage, reaching the far corners of the galaxy in just days. On the planet Altair Prime, Elder Zif-Siri of the Altarian hegemony received the signal first. The tall, blue-skinned alien studied the data with growing alarm. The ancient prophecies were coming true. The water world species had finally reached the stars. Zef-Kri immediately sent messages to the other members of the Galactic Council. Within hours, representatives from 12 different alien races were gathering for an emergency meeting. Some had traveled thousands of light years to attend. The council met in the great crystal chamber on the neutral world of Nexus Station. The chamber was enormous, with seats arranged in a perfect circle. Each race had their own section, designed to accommodate their unique physical needs. Zef-Kri stood in the center of the circle and activated the holographic display. Images of the ancient prophecies appeared in the air, translated into the 12 different languages of the council members. The warnings our ancestors left have proven true, Zef-Kri announced. The species from the water world has found the beacon. They are now traveling between stars. Commander Vorthik of the Vorthik Empire slammed his armored fist on his chair. The sound echoed through the chamber. Then we must act quickly. The prophecies are clear about what this species will do to our galaxy. The representative from the peaceful Etherian collective, a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline shell, spoke in musical tones. Perhaps we should try diplomacy first. Not all prophecies speak of conquest through war. You did not read the same texts I did, growled Vorthik. These humans will not be stopped by words. The prophecies say they make the impossible possible. They turn defeat into victory. How do you fight an enemy like that? Meanwhile, humanity remained unaware of the growing storm. Ambassador Kate Phillips had been chosen as Earth's first representative to make contact with alien civilizations. She had studied xenobiology and diplomacy for 15 years. preparing for the day when humans would meet other intelligent species. Kate was aboard the Unaze Discovery, humanity's newest diplomatic vessel, when the first alien contact came. It wasn't the friendly greeting she had hoped for. The Galactic Council's message was direct and frightening. They demanded that humanity remain in their home solar system. Any attempt to establish colonies or explore beyond their own sun would be met with military force. "They're afraid of us," Kate said to her aide, Lieutenant Commander Tony Garcia, "but I don't understand why." Tony pulled up the intelligence reports they had received from Captain Morrison's team. "According to these prophecies, we're supposed to be some kind of galactic threat. But we've never even met these aliens before." Kate studied the translations more carefully. The ancient warnings painted humans as a species that would fundamentally change how the galaxy worked. They wouldn't conquer through superior technology or larger armies. Instead, they would inspire others and adapt to any challenge. These prophecies don't describe conquerors, Kate realized. They describe teachers. The ancient aliens weren't afraid we would destroy their civilizations. They were afraid we would change them. Back on Earth, Dr. Ben Rodriguez was working at the Lunar Research Station when he made a disturbing discovery. He had been analyzing the energy patterns from the ancient beacon when he noticed something wrong. "Commander Stone," Ben called Earth, through the communication system, "I think we have a problem. The alien structure isn't just sharing old prophecies. It's been broadcasting our location to the entire galaxy." Alex felt his stomach drop. "For how long?" "Based on the energy patterns, I'd say about 3 months. Every alien civilization in the galaxy knows exactly where to find us." The situation got worse when Earth's deep space sensors detected multiple fleets moving toward human space. The aliens weren't just making threats. They were preparing for action. Kate tried desperately to establish communication with the approaching fleets. Her messages were answered, but not in the way she hoped. The leader of the Chronari warhost responded first. His message was simple and terrifying. "Surrender now and accept relocation to a safe system under our protection. Refuse and face the consequences of fulfilling the prophecies." 3 other alien fleets sent similar messages. They all demanded the same thing. Humanity must give up their freedom and accept alien supervision, or face the combined military might of half the galaxy. Kate looked at the approaching alien fleets on her scanner display. Humanity had perhaps weeks before the first ships arrived at Earth, the species that had never even fought a real war between star systems was about to face the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. But as she studied the prophecies more time, Kate began to understand something the aliens had missed. The ancient warnings weren't instructions for how to stop humans. They were descriptions of what would happen when you tried to stop them. The prophecies said humans would turn enemies into allies and make the impossible seem inevitable. Maybe it was time to find out if the ancient aliens had been right. Captain Ryan Blake stood on the bridge of the Unzi Defiance, watching the enemy fleet approach Jupiter. The Chronari warhost had arrived first, just as intelligence had predicted. Their ships were massive, each one 3 times larger than the biggest human vessel. "How many ships are we facing?" Ryan asked his tactical officer. Lieutenant Karen Foster checked her sensors. 47 Chronari battleships, sir, plus support vessels. "They outnumber us 8 to 1. Ryan nodded calmly. The human defense fleet consisted of only 12 ships, but they were the best Earth could offer. More importantly, they were crewed by humans who had grown up hearing stories about impossible victories. "Open a channel to the Chronari commander," Ryan ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing a massive alien covered in natural armor. Commander Thektar of the Chronari looked exactly like the monsters from human nightmares, but Ryan didn't. Let his fear show. "Human vessel," Thektar's voice rumbled through the speakers. you will surrender immediately. The prophecies warned us about your kind. We will not allow you to spread your chaos across the galaxy." Ryan straightened in his command chair. "Commander Vector, I'm Captain Ryan Blake of the United Nations ship Defiance. We're not here to cause chaos. We're here to defend our home." "Your home is no longer your concern," Vector replied. "Surrender now, and your species will be relocated to a safe world where you can live under proper supervision." "I'm afraid that's not acceptable," Ryan said politely. "Humans prefer to make their own choices." Vector Azalian features twisted into what might have been a smile. "The prophecies said you would refuse to yield. Very well, you have 1 hour to reconsider." The channel closed, leaving Ryan and his crew alone with their thoughts. The odds were impossible, but that had never stopped humans before. "All ships, this is Defiance," Ryan broadcast to his small fleet. "Remember, we're not trying to destroy them. We're trying to show them who we really are." The battle began exactly 1 hour later. The Chronari ships moved in perfect formation, their weapons charging with deadly energy. But the human ships didn't fight like any enemy the Chronari had faced before. Instead of meeting the alien fleet head-on, the human ships scattered in all directions. They used Jupiter's gravity and radiation to confuse the Chronari sensors. When they did attack, they targeted engines and weapon systems, not the ship's vital areas. Lieutenant Foster watched her targeting computer. Direct hit on the Chronari. Flagship's engine section. They're losing power. "Good," Ryan said. "Signal the medical bay. Prepare to receive wounded." "Sir?" Foster looked confused. "Receive wounded from where?" "From the Chronari ships we just damaged," Ryan explained. "Some of their crew members are probably hurt." The Chronari were even more confused than Foster. They had expected the humans to fight like savage beasts, as the prophecy suggested. Instead, the humans fought with precision and restraint, disabling ships without killing the crews inside. When Ryan broadcast an offer to help treat the wounded Chronari, Commander Vector thought it was some kind of trick. No species offered medical aid to enemies during battle. "This is impossible," Vector muttered to his second-in-command. "Why would they help us after we attacked them?" His aide, a younger Chronari named Vecalon, studied the human transmission. "Perhaps the prophecies were wrong about their intentions, Commander." Meanwhile, on Mars, Lieutenant Colonel Grace Turner faced a different kind of invasion. The Etherian Collective had arrived not with weapons, but with what they called protective occupation. They claimed they were saving humanity from its own destructive nature. The Etherian soldiers were beings of pure energy contained in robotic shells. They moved through the Mars colony like ghosts, taking control of important facilities without firing a shot. Grace had been ordered to resist, but she decided to try something different. Instead of fighting the energy beings, she invited them to dinner. "I don't understand," said the Etherian commander, who called himself Resonance of Peace. "We are occupying your world. Why do you offer us food?" Grace smiled as she set plates on the table in the colony's main dining hall. "Because you're far from home, and everyone gets hungry. Even energy beings need to recharge sometimes." The Etherian soldiers had never encountered this kind of response. They had expected either immediate surrender or violent resistance. Hospitality mixed with quiet determination was completely outside their experience. "Your species is dangerous," Resonance of Peace said, but his tone was uncertain. "The prophecies warn that you corrupt other species with your ideas." "What ideas?" Grace asked, passing him a cup of coffee. "That enemies can become friends? That problems can be solved without violence? Those don't sound like dangerous ideas to me." Back in space, the battle near Jupiter was taking an unexpected turn. Captain Blake's ships had disabled 6 Chronari vessels without destroying any of them. When the human medical teams actually arrived to help treat the wounded aliens, Commander Vectar called for a ceasefire. "I must speak with the human commander," Vectar announced to his fleet, face to face. Ryan agreed to meet aboard the damaged Chronari flagship. He brought Dr. Helen Martinez, his chief medical officer, and 2 security guards. The Chronari ship was huge inside, with corridors designed for beings twice human size. Vectar met them in his command center, surrounded by wounded crew members. The human medical team was already working on the most seriously injured aliens. "I do not understand your species," Vectar said directly. "The prophecies warned that you would be destroyers. But you heal our wounded instead of finishing your attack." Ryan looked around at the damaged alien ship. "The prophecies were written by people who didn't know us very well. We're not destroyers, Commander. We're problem solvers." "But you fight with great skill," Vectar pointed out. "Your small fleet has crippled 6 of our ships." "We fight when we have to," Ryan agreed, "but we prefer to find other solutions." The prophecies were right about one thing, though. We don't give up easily. Dr. Martinez looked up from treating a wounded Chronari. "Commander Vectar, your crew member has internal injuries. We can treat him, but we'll need to transport him to our medical bay for surgery." Vectar stared at the human doctor. "You would take one of my warriors aboard your ship?" "Of course," Martinez replied. "He's hurt, and we can help him. That's what doctors do." As the human medical team worked to save Chronari lives, something strange happened. The alien warriors began to see humans not as the monsters from the prophecies, but as people who cared about others, even their enemies. Vectar sent a message to the other approaching alien fleets. "Hold your positions," he ordered. "The prophecies may have been misunderstood. These humans are not what we expected." But not all the alien commanders were willing to listen. 3 more fleets were still approaching Earth, and their leaders were determined to fulfill the ancient warnings, no matter what the cost. The real test was just beginning. Dr. Sam Carter made the discovery that changed everything. He had been working for weeks on the final piece of the ancient prophecy, a section that had been damaged and harder to translate. When the computer finally decoded the text, he couldn't believe what he was reading. "Captain Morrison," Sam called across the research lab on the UN's horizon. "You need to see this immediately." Jake looked up from his coffee and walked over to Sam's workstation. The new translation was displayed on the screen, glowing with the same golden light as the original alien symbols. "What am I looking at?" Jake asked. Sam pointed to the translated text. "This is the final part of the prophecy. It doesn't just warn about humans spreading across the galaxy. It describes what will happen when they do." Jake read the ancient words carefully. The prophecy spoke of the waterworld species uniting former enemies through their example. It warned that these beings would make the impossible seem inevitable, not through conquest, but through inspiration. "They're not warning about human aggression," Jake realized. "They're warning about human influence." The ancient aliens were afraid we would change how everyone thinks about war and peace. Meanwhile, Captain Morrison's crew encountered the proof of the prophecy's truth. A Vorthic patrol ship had been attacked by space pirates and was drifting helplessly near the edge of the system. The ship was badly damaged, its crew trapped inside with failing life support. Engineer Maya Torres studied the distress signal. "It's a Vorthic vessel, Captain. They're part of the coalition trying to contain us." Jake didn't hesitate. "Prepare a rescue mission. Take whatever you need." Maya looked surprised. "Sir, they're technically our enemies." "They're people in trouble," Jake replied. "That makes them our responsibility." Maya led a team of engineers to the damaged Vorthic ship. The aliens inside were suspicious at first, expecting the humans to demand their surrender in exchange for help. Instead, the human crew worked for 18 straight hours, to repair the alien vessel. Captain Zekener of the Vorthik Patrol couldn't understand what was happening. His ship had been completely helpless, easy prey for the humans who found them. But instead of taking advantage of the situation, the humans simply fixed everything and asked for nothing in return. "Why do you help us?" Zekener asked Maya as she finished repairing his ship's main engine. Maya wiped the sweat from her forehead. She had been working in the alien ship's hot engineering section for hours. "Because your people needed help. That's what we do." "But we are your enemies," Zekener pointed out. "Our fleet is moving to attack your worlds." Maya shrugged. "That doesn't change the fact that you needed help. Besides, maybe if we show you who we really are, you won't want to be our enemies anymore." When Captain Zekener returned to his fleet, he carried a message that confused his commanders. The humans had saved his ship and crew without asking for anything in return. They had treated his wounded crew members and even shared their food supplies. "This makes no sense," Admiral Vorthik said when he heard the report. "The prophecies described them as dangerous conquerors." G. Karner shook his head. "Admiral, I have seen these humans in action. They are dangerous, but not in the way the prophecies suggest. They are dangerous because they make you want to be better than you are." Back on Earth, Ambassador Kate Phillips was preparing for the most important diplomatic meeting in human history. The Galactic Council had agreed to hear humanity's case before making their final decision about the human problem. Kate traveled to the neutral station where the council met, accompanied by a small team of advisors. The station was enormous, designed to accommodate dozens of different alien species. The council chamber itself was a marvel of engineering, with gravity fields and atmospheric controls for each species. Kate stood in the center of the great circle, surrounded by representatives from 12 different worlds. Some looked almost human, while others were so alien that she could barely understand how they functioned. Elder Zefkri of the Altarians spoke first. "Ambassador Phillips, your species has been identified as the fulfillment of ancient prophecies. These warnings suggest that humans will fundamentally alter the balance of power in our galaxy." Kate nodded respectfully. "Elder Zefkri, I've read the prophecies, but I think there's been a misunderstanding about what they mean." "Explain," commanded the Vorthak representative. Kate activated a holographic display showing the various prophecy translations. "The ancient texts don't describe conquest through superior technology or larger armies. They describe a species that would inspire others and adapt to any challenge. That's not a threat. That's an opportunity." The Etherian representative, Resonance of Peace, spoke in musical tones. "But the prophecies warn that your species will make enemies into allies. This suggests some form of mental manipulation." "Not manipulation," Kate replied. "Cooperation. We don't force people to be our allies. We show them that working together is better than fighting alone." To prove her point, Kate shared the recent reports from Captain Blake's fleet and Lieutenant Colonel Turner's forces. She showed how humans had helped their enemies instead of destroying them, and how those enemies had begun to change their opinions about humanity. The council members whispered among themselves in their various languages. Some seemed intrigued by what they were hearing, while others remained suspicious. Dr. Ben Rodriguez, working on Lunar Research Station, made another crucial discovery. He had been analyzing the energy patterns from the ancient beacon when he realized something important. "Commander Stone," Ben called Earth through the communication link, "I figured out how the beacon works. It's not just broadcasting our location. It's been learning about us." Alex Stone felt a chill run down his spine. "Learning what?" "Everything," Ben replied. "Our communications, our behavior patterns, our responses to threats. The beacon has been studying humanity for months and transmitting that data to the galaxy. This explained why the alien fleets had been so surprised by human actions. They had expected the humans to behave like conquerors, based on the ancient prophecies. But the beacon had been sending real-time data showing how humans actually behaved. The aliens were slowly realizing that the prophecies might have been misunderstood. The ancient warnings hadn't been about a species that would conquer the galaxy through violence. They had been about a species that would change the galaxy through example. The truth became clear when the Altarians faced a crisis that their advanced technology couldn't solve. A plague had broken out on their homeworld, and their medical science was powerless to stop it. Thousands of Altarians were dying, and their government was desperate. Elder Zefkri swallowed his pride and sent a message to Earth. We request human assistance with a medical emergency. Dr. Rodriguez and a team of human doctors traveled to Altair Prime. They didn't just treat the plague. They taught the Altarian scientists a completely different approach to medical research. Instead of following rigid protocols, the humans emphasized creative thinking and adaptive solutions. Your methods are chaotic, complained Dr. Silith, the chief Altarian medical researcher. Chaotic but effective, Dr. Rodriguez replied as he showed Silith how to modify the treatment for different patients. Every patient is different. You can't treat them all exactly the same way. Within weeks, the plague was under control. But more importantly, the Altarian medical community had learned to think about problems in new ways. They began sharing their knowledge with other species, spreading human ideas about adaptation and creative problem-solving. The prophecy was coming true, but not as anyone had expected. Humans weren't conquering the galaxy through military force. They were transforming it through inspiration and example. As word spread about human actions, more alien species began to question the ancient warnings. Maybe the prophecies hadn't been about stopping humans at all. Maybe they had been about preparing the galaxy for a species that would teach everyone to be better than they were. The real test was still coming, but now it looked like humanity might pass it in ways that no one, not even the ancient aliens, had imagined possible. 6 months had passed since the discovery of the ancient prophecies, and the galaxy was changing in ways no one had expected. Captain Ryan Blake found himself commanding something that had never existed before. A joint fleet of human Vorthic and Chronari ships working together. The unlikely alliance had formed when real pirates attacked a peaceful trading station on the edge of Chronari space. The human fleet was the closest to respond, but Captain Blake contacted the former enemies and asked for their help. "You want us to fight alongside you?" Commander Vectar had asked in amazement. "I want us to protect innocent people together." Ryan had replied, "Isn't that what soldiers are supposed to do?" Now the mixed fleet patrolled the dangerous regions where different alien territories met. The pirates who had terrorized the area for decades were discovering that human tactics combined with alien technology made for a very effective combination. Human. Vessel Defiance. "This is Chronari Battleship Honor's Edge," came the familiar voice of Vectar. "We have located the pirate base, requesting permission to begin coordinated attack." Ryan smiled at how much things had changed. 6 months ago, Vectar had been trying to destroy human ships. Now he was asking permission to attack alongside them. "Permission granted, Honor's Edge. Remember, we disable their ships and capture the crews. No unnecessary killing." "Understood, Captain Blake. We have learned your ways." The battle was swift and decisive. The pirates had never faced an enemy that combined human creativity with alien firepower. More importantly, they had never faced an enemy that offered medical treatment to wounded pirates after defeating them. Back on Earth, Dr. Lisa Harper was establishing something completely new, the first interspecies archaeological institute. Human and alien researchers worked side by side, uncovering the secrets of ancient civilizations throughout the galaxy. The institute's most important discovery came from a young Etherian researcher named Harmony of Knowledge. She had been studying the same type of crystal structure that Captain Morrison had found on the distant moon. "Dr. Harper," Harmony called excitedly, "I have found another beacon, but this one is different." Lisa examined the new crystal structure on the holographic display. It was similar to the first beacon, but the symbols were different. Instead of warnings, these new symbols seemed to contain instructions. "What kind of instructions?" Lisa asked. Harmony translated the ancient text carefully. "It appears to be a guide. The same species that left the prophecies also left detailed information about how to build a better galactic civilization." Lisa felt her heart race. They weren't just warning about humans, they were preparing for us. The new discovery changed everything. The ancient aliens had seen their own civilizations failing and had hoped that someday a young species would emerge with the creativity and determination to succeed where they had failed. Dr. Sam Carter, working with alien linguists from 6 different species, decoded more of the ancient instructions. The text described how to create interspecies councils that could adapt quickly to new challenges, how to turn enemies into allies through understanding rather than force, and how to solve problems by combining different ways of thinking. These are prophecies, Sam realized as he read the translations. They're blueprints. The ancient aliens were leaving instructions for the species they hoped would eventually find them. Ambassador Kate Phillips presented these findings to the Galactic Council, which had already begun changing based on human suggestions. The old rigid hierarchy had been replaced with adaptive councils that could respond quickly to new situations. The ancient warnings were never meant to stop humans, Kate explained to the assembled alien representatives. They were meant to prepare the galaxy for what humans could teach everyone. Elder Zefkri nodded thoughtfully. "The prophecies described your species as dangerous because you would change everything. We feared this change, but perhaps we should have embraced it." The council voted unanimously to restructure galactic civilization based on the ancient instructions and human innovations. Kate became the first non-founding species to serve as council mediator, not through political maneuvering, but because every other species had come to trust human judgment. The changes weren't limited to politics and military cooperation. The Altarians had shared the human approach to medical research with other species, leading to breakthroughs that had saved millions of lives. The Vorvik had adopted human engineering principles, creating ships that were both more powerful and more efficient than anything they had built before. Even the peaceful Etherians had learned from humans. Lieutenant Colonel Grace Turner's simple act of sharing dinner had taught them that true peace came not from avoiding conflict, but from building understanding between different peoples. Captain Jake Morrison made the final discovery that completed the picture. Deep in the original beacon structure, his team found a chamber that had been sealed for millions of years. Inside, they discovered not warnings or instructions, but a message of hope. "To the species who will read this," the ancient text began, "we have watched our civilizations grow stagnant and our people lose hope for the future. We have tried to solve our problems with the same methods that created them, and we have failed." Lisa. Harper read the translation aloud to the assembled research team. "But we believe that someday a young species will emerge with the courage to try new solutions and the wisdom to bring different peoples together. If you are reading this, then you are that species." The message continued, "We have left you the tools and knowledge that we could not use ourselves. Our minds were too set in old patterns, our cultures too afraid of change. But you, the ones who refuse to yield to the impossible, you can build the galaxy we only dreamed of." The ancient aliens had been right about humans, but not in the way anyone expected. Humans were dangerous to the old galactic order because they offered something better. They showed that enemies could become friends, that problems could be solved through cooperation, and that the impossible was just another challenge to overcome. The final scene that proved the prophecies true. Meaning took place on Harmony Station. the first integrated colony where humans and aliens lived together as equals. Children from 6 different species played together in the station's gardens, while their parents worked on projects that none of their civilizations could have completed alone. Captain Morrison watched a human child teaching an alien youngster how to play catch, while the alien child showed the human how to communicate through color patterns. Neither child cared that their species had once been enemies. They only cared about being friends. The prophecies came true, Lisa said, joining Jake at the observation window. Humans did change everything. Jake nodded, watching the children play. But not through conquest or destruction. We changed things by showing everyone that there was a better way. The ancient aliens had been right about one thing. Humans would indeed change everything. They just hadn't understood that change could be beautiful. The prophecies had warned about human danger, but they hadn't mentioned human hope. As the children's laughter echoed through the station corridors, mixing human voices with alien sounds of joy, the galaxy continued its slow transformation into something the ancient prophecy makers had only dared to dream about. A civilization built on cooperation, understanding, and the human belief that any problem could be solved if people worked together. The prophecy had been fulfilled, but not as anyone expected. The ancient warnings had come true in the most beautiful way possible. Humans had indeed made the impossible seem inevitable, turned enemies into allies, and changed the fundamental nature of galactic civilization. But they had done it not through force or conquest, but through the simple human conviction that everyone deserved a chance to be better than they were. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what the ancient aliens had hoped for when they left their messages among the stars. The age of humanity had begun, not with the roar of weapons or the march of armies, but with the laughter of children who saw no difference between human and alien, between former enemies and new friends. The prophecies had warned of danger, but they had delivered hope instead. 2 years after the first discovery, Captain Jake Morrison received a message that would change his life forever. The communication came from the edge of known space, where his deep space sensors had detected something impossible, another ancient beacon, but this one was different from all the others. "Dr. Harper, you need to see this," Jake called across the bridge of the UNS Horizon. The ship had become famous throughout the galaxy as the vessel that discovered the first prophecies. And now it was heading toward another mystery. Lisa rushed to the captain's station and studied the sensor readings. "It's definitely artificial, but the energy signature is completely different from the warning beacons we've found before." Dr. Sam Carter looked up from his translation work. He had spent the last 2 years becoming the galaxy's leading expert on ancient alien languages. "The signal patterns are different, too. Instead of warnings, this seems to be sending out invitations." The UN's horizon approached the new structure carefully. Unlike the dark, buried beacons they had found before, this one sat openly on the surface of a small asteroid. It gleamed with silver light and seemed to pulse with welcoming energy. "It's beautiful," whispered Lieutenant Maria Santos, the ship's new science officer. She had joined the crew specifically to study ancient alien technology. When the landing team reached the structure, they found something unprecedented. The alien symbols on this beacon weren't warnings or instructions. They were stories. Stories about hope, friendship, and the possibility of a better future. "This is incredible," Sam said as he worked to translate the ancient text. These aliens weren't like the others. They didn't fear the coming of the water-world species. They were excited about it. The stories told of a civilization that had grown old and tired, but had never lost faith that younger species would eventually bring new energy to the galaxy. They had built this beacon not as a warning, but as a welcome message for the species they hoped would find it. Meanwhile, on the planet New Harmony, the first joint human-alien colony was celebrating its first anniversary. Governor Chon Rodriguez A former Earth diplomat stood before a crowd that included representatives from 8 different species. 1 year ago, this world was just an empty planet, Chan announced to the cheering crowd. Today, it's home to over 50,000 beings from across the galaxy, all living and working together in peace. The colony had become a symbol of what the new galactic civilization could achieve. Human engineers had worked with Altarian scientists to create buildings that could accommodate any species. Vorthic farmers had shared their agricultural knowledge with human botanists to grow food that everyone could eat. Etherian artists had collaborated with human musicians to create entirely new forms of art. But the most important achievement of new harmony wasn't technological or cultural. It was social. Children from different species grew up together, learning each other's languages and customs as naturally as breathing. They didn't see aliens when they looked at their friends. They just saw friends. 8-year-old Tommy Garcia, whose father had been one of the original colonists, played every day with his best friend Zikara, a young Chronari whose parents had been warriors in the old fleet that once threatened Earth. The 2 children had invented their own games that combined human creativity with Chronari strength. Tommy showed Zikara how to throw the ball properly, called Lisa-chan, Tommy's teacher and the daughter of the colony's governor. Her classroom was unique in the galaxy. 15 children from 6 different species, all learning together. Children had solved problems that had puzzled adult diplomats for months. When Etherian children couldn't participate in physical games because of their energy-based nature, the human and alien children worked together to invent new games that everyone could play. When young Altarians had trouble with human food, the other children helped them create special meals that tasted good to everyone. Back in space, Captain Ryan Blake was dealing with a different kind of success. His joint defense fleet had become so effective at stopping pirates and protecting trade routes that other species were asking to join. The fleet that had started with 12 human ships, some Chronari vessels, and a few Vorthek cruisers now included ships from 9 different civilizations. Captain Blake, reported Commander Elena Vasquez, his new tactical officer. We're receiving a request from the Zephyrian Republic. They want to add 3 of their ships to our patrol fleet. Ryan smiled. The Zephyrians had been neutral in the original conflict over humanity, but they had watched the success of the joint fleet with growing interest. Like many species, they were discovering that working with humans opened up possibilities they had never considered. Approved, Ryan said. Contact their commander and welcome them to the fleet. The joint fleet had revolutionized space security. Instead of each species protecting only their own territory, the combined fleet protected everyone equally. Pirates, who had once moved freely between different alien territories, now found themselves facing coordinated responses from multiple civilizations. But the fleet's greatest achievement wasn't military. It was cultural. Alien crew members were learning human concepts like leave no one behind and innocent until proven guilty. Human crew members were learning alien ideas about patience, precision, and long-term thinking. Dr. Ben Rodriguez made another breakthrough while studying the energy patterns of the various ancient beacons. Working from his new laboratory on Luna Station, he discovered that all the structures were connected in a vast network spanning the entire galaxy. Commander Stone, Ben called Earth through the quantum communication link. I think I've figured out what the ancient aliens were really doing. They weren't just leaving random messages. They were building a teaching system. Alex Stone, now promoted to Admiral and head of Human Space Command, listened carefully to Ben's explanation. What kind of teaching system? The beacons are designed to activate in sequence, Ben replied. As a species develops and explores more of the galaxy, they find different beacons with different lessons. It's like a massive school designed to help young civilizations learn how to work together. This discovery explained why the first beacons contained warnings, while later ones contained instructions and welcomes. The ancient aliens had created a curriculum designed to guide developing species through the stages of galactic citizenship. The network revealed something else. Humanity wasn't the first species to find the beacons. Over millions of years, dozens of other civilizations had discovered parts of the network. But humans were the first to find enough beacons and translate enough languages to understand the full system. We're not just students, Ben realized. We're the first graduates. Ambassador Kate Phillips, now serving her second term as Galactic Council Mediator, called a special session to share Ben's discoveries. Representatives from all member species gathered to hear about the ancient teaching network. The beacons weren't random warnings, Kate explained to the assembled delegates. They were lessons designed to guide us toward this moment, the creation of a truly cooperative galactic civilization. Elder Zefkri, now one of Kate's closest advisors, spoke for many when he said, "The Ancient Ones succeeded beyond their wildest dreams. They created not just a system for teaching cooperation, but students capable of learning it." The discovery of the beacon network had one more surprise. The newest beacon contained coordinates for something the ancient aliens called the final lesson. It was located in the center of the galaxy, in a region that no species had ever successfully explored. Captain Morrison volunteered to lead the expedition to find this final beacon. His ship, the UNS Horizon, had started the journey that led to this moment. It seemed fitting that it should complete the journey as well. As the expedition prepared to depart, beings from across the galaxy sent messages of support. The mission included crew members from 12 different species, all working together to uncover the last secret of the ancient teaching network. The galaxy held its breath as the expedition ships disappeared into the dangerous regions at the galactic center. Everyone wondered what final lesson the ancient aliens had left for their successful students. The expedition to the galactic center took 3 months to reach its destination. Captain Jake Morrison commanded the UNA Horizon, but the mission included ships from every major civilization in the galaxy. It was the largest cooperative venture in galactic history. "We're approaching the coordinates," reported Dr. Lisa Harper from her science station. "But I'm not detecting any artificial structures." Dr. Sam Carter studied his translation equipment. The ancient beacon said the final lesson would be at these exact coordinates. "There has to be something here." Commander Veltar of the coronary vessel Ironwool contacted the Horizon. "Human ship, our deep scanners are detecting massive gravitational anomalies in this region. Whatever is here, it's hidden very well." The mystery deepened when they discovered they weren't alone. Ancient automated ships from dozens of extinct civilizations were floating motionless in the area, as if they had been waiting for millions of years. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Commander Tony Garcia, studying the silent fleet. "Some of these ships are older than any civilization we know about." Maya Torres, now chief engineer of the expedition, made the crucial discovery. "Captain, I'm detecting a pattern in the gravitational fields. If we adjust our position slightly, something should become visible." The moment the expedition fleet moved into the correct formation, space itself seemed to shimmer and reveal the most incredible sight any of them had ever seen. A massive structure materialized before them, larger than any planet and obviously artificial. "It's a space station," Jake said in amazement. "But it's the size of a small moon." Dr. Harper's instruments went wild with readings. The energy signatures suggest this station has been here for millions of years, but it's still fully powered and operational. As the expedition ships approached the ancient station, docking bays opened automatically to receive them. The station's artificial intelligence had been waiting for this moment, programmed to activate when representatives from enough different species arrived together. Interior of the station was breathtaking. Corridors and chambers were designed to accommodate hundreds of different alien physiologies. Gardens contained plants from worlds across the galaxy. including many that had been extinct for millions of years. But the most amazing discovery was in the station's central chamber. There, they found not ancient aliens, but something far more precious, a complete record of galactic history going back billions of years. "This is incredible," Sam said as he accessed the station's databanks. "It contains the history of every civilization that ever reached the stars, including many we never knew existed." The records revealed the truth about the ancient beacon network. It hadn't been built by one civilization, but by many working together. Each species that achieved galactic citizenship had added their own beacons to the network, sharing their knowledge and wisdom with future generations. We're not the first students to graduate from this system, Lisa realized as she studied the historical records. We're the latest in a long line of civilizations that learned to work together. The station's central computer activated when enough representatives had gathered in the main chamber. A holographic figure appeared, tall and graceful, representing the combined appearance of dozens of ancient species. "Welcome, graduates," the hologram said in perfect translations for all present. "You have successfully completed the greatest lesson in galactic history, learning to transform conflict into cooperation." Captain Morrison stepped forward to speak for the expedition. "We're honored to be here, but we don't understand. What happened to all the civilizations that came before us?" The hologram smiled sadly. "They transcended physical existence, moving beyond the need for planets and ships. But before they departed, they left this station as their final gift to the galaxy." The ancient AI explained that each graduating civilization faced a choice. They could remain in physical form and help guide younger species, or they could evolve beyond the material universe to explore even greater mysteries. Most chose to transcend, the hologram continued. But they left their knowledge, their wisdom, and their hopes for the future. This station contains everything they learned about building peaceful civilizations. Dr. Rodriguez, who had joined the expedition as the galaxy's leading expert on ancient technology, made another discovery. "Captain, this station isn't just a library. It's a school, the most advanced school in the galaxy." The station contained laboratories, workshops, and training facilities designed to help new civilizations master the most advanced technologies and social systems. Everything the transcended races had learned about science, art, philosophy, and cooperation was available to their successors. "But there's one more gift," the hologram announced. "The transcended civilizations left behind representatives who chose to remain in physical form to serve as teachers and guides." New chambers opened throughout the station, revealing beings from dozens of ancient races. They had spent millions of years in suspended animation, waiting for the next group of species to achieve graduation. Elder Zara of the long-lost Archean race was the first to awaken. She looked exactly like the ancient carvings found on worlds throughout the galaxy, but her eyes held the wisdom of eons. "Welcome, young ones," Zara said to the mixed group of humans and aliens. "We have been waiting so long to meet you." The expedition members spent weeks learning from the ancient teachers. They discovered technologies that could heal any disease, restore dead worlds to life, and allow faster-than-light travel without harmful effects on space itself. But the most valuable lessons weren't technological. The ancient races taught the principles of true galactic citizenship, how to resolve conflicts between very different species, how to help younger civilizations develop without forcing them to follow a particular path, and how to maintain peace across thousands of different worlds. "The secret," Elder Zara explained to Kate Phillips during one of their conversations, "is to remember that diversity is strength. Every species sees the universe differently, and that's valuable. Your role as leaders isn't to make everyone the same, but to help everyone contribute their unique gifts." Captain Blake, who had traveled to the station aboard his flagship, learned about military principles that the ancient races had developed. War isn't about defeating your enemies, explained Commander Thexon of the ancient Stellar Guard. It's about protecting what you value while helping your enemies understand why they're wrong to oppose you. The lessons continued for months. Each member of the expedition learned something different based on their role in the new galactic civilization. Engineers learned how to build technology that worked in harmony with nature. Diplomats learned how to find common ground between completely alien worldviews. Scientists learned how to push the boundaries of knowledge while considering the ethical implications of their discoveries. But the most important lesson was saved for last. Elder Zara gathered all the expedition members in the station's great hall for a final ceremony. "You have learned much during your time here," she began. "But now you must choose. Will you remain students forever, or will you become teachers yourselves?" The choice was clear to everyone present. The galaxy was full of younger civilizations that were still struggling with war, poverty, and isolation. The graduating species had a responsibility to help them, just as the ancient races had helped by creating the beacon network. "We choose to teach," Captain Morrison said, speaking for all the expedition members. "But we'll do it the human way." Elder Zara smiled. "And what is the human way?" Ambassador Phillips answered for her species and their allies. "We won't wait for civilizations to find our beacons by accident. We'll go to them and offer our help directly. We'll show them that cooperation is possible by working with them, not just teaching them." The ancient teachers approved of this approach. The transcended races had been too removed from physical existence to interact directly with younger species. But the new graduates were still close enough to their own struggles to relate to civilizations that were just beginning to reach for the stars. The expedition returned to the galaxy with Thean, plans that would change everything once again. Instead of waiting for other species to achieve interstellar travel, the Galactic Alliance would actively seek out developing civilizations and offer them friendship and assistance. The beacon network would remain in place for species that preferred to learn gradually. But now there would also be direct contact missions, led by teams that included representatives from multiple species working together. The ancient prophecies had come full circle. Humans had indeed changed the galaxy, but not through conquest or destruction. They had changed it by proving that the most powerful force in the universe wasn't technology or military might, but the simple belief that everyone deserved help in becoming the best version of themselves. As the expedition ships returned to their home worlds, they carried with them the knowledge and wisdom of billions of years of galactic civilization. But more importantly, they carried the determination to share that gift with every species that was ready to receive it. The age of the ancient races was over. The age of active galactic citizenship had begun, led by the species that had once been warned about in prophecies, but had instead become the galaxy's greatest hope for a peaceful and cooperative future. The humans and their allies had learned the final lesson. True greatness wasn't about what you could accomplish for yourself, but about what you could help others accomplish for themselves. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what everyone, both ancient and modern, had hoped it would become.